lively, dude. Oh, there goes my belt. It just ripped. Shredded it. So this is our street legal MB200. If you've been following the whole build, we've been doing little bits at a time and trying to get our top speed and 0 to 30 miles per hour better. Because of course, being on the road, we need to be able to cruise. Our goal is 50 to 55 miles per hour cruising speed with a top speed of 80 miles per hour. That's what I want the end goal for this bike to be, and have plenty of takeoff and stuff so we can still go trail riding if we want to, and it's to be a good road performing bike. So today we're going to up the power even more. In the last video you saw us put a 265 cam and a 24 millimeter flat slide Mikuni. Now we're going to complement those even better with a CNC ported Wildcat 946 head. This has bigger valves in the stock, a lot bigger ports, and it's going to help flow better for that Mikuni and that carb. Now we possibly could go up to something like a WC22 carb, but I really like the flat side Mikunis, so I'm going to keep this as long as I possibly can. So let's see what this head will do. We got to pull the engine off and get that head installed. We're going to go ahead and throw in a billet rod while we got the head off, because we have one sitting on the shelf, just to give us longevity out of the engine. It's actually a forged EC rod. I'm so used to saying billet. But so let's get this engine take off, get it on the workbench, and make some more horsepower. Got the engine pulled out of the bike, and I wanted to show you just on that last ride, the higher RPMs. Look at the wear we're starting to get on the magnetic dipstick. So that's quite a bit of fuzz right there. And if we look at the oil, you can see a little bit of swirls happening in it, a little metal. I don't know if you can see that, but definitely getting a little wear out of the engine. Now, I wouldn't keep a stock rod super long, but the flywheel's the biggest deal when taking the governor out. Is you want to replace the flywheel, but you can go a little while with the stock rod. It's not a safety issue as much as the flywheel is, but it's going to be nice to put a billet rod in this thing while we got it opened up. First, we need to pull the head and get ready to slide the piston out of the block. Next, I'm going to open up the block and remove the cam and the rod bolts. We can now slide out the rod and the piston. With the stock rod removed, we can install the new forged rod with a longer ear on the same side of the piston as the arrow. Install the rod bearings in the piston and the rod and get it back in the block. Oil the rod bolts and torque them to 150 inch-pounds. Before installing the side cover, I used some crankshaft shims to get my end play down to 0.10 of an inch. The shims you'll need to use varies on build to build. Bam. With our end play set, we can install the head and the valve train. You'll notice I messed up and installed a 45 thousandths fire ring head gasket. On this particular build, I'm allowed to use a 10 thousandths head gasket to get as much compression out of this setup as possible. I did go back off camera and install the 10 thousandths before we did the ride. We'll explain this on a later video. The last piece of the install is one of our MSD coils to get every little bit of power out of this build as possible. Alright, so we got the head gasket swapped out. It feels a little peppier. It actually started better with the higher compression, because the reason why I got mixed up is normally when we use Wildcat heads, our pistons are 0 in the deck. So the problem with that is you can't use a thin head gasket when you're 0 in the deck, because you'll get piston slap. Basically it'll slap the head. This thing freaking rips now, dude. We're getting closer to where we want to be. Oh, this thing freaking rips now. So what I was saying was, the reason we had to switch out to the thinner head gasket is when we're doing something like a 240 or a 223, our piston normally is 0 in the hole, and we're using an 18cc head, which means the piston can't, if it floats any, it can't pop up into the head any. That's a downside, not a downside, it's actually a good thing when you got like an 18cc head. So basically on this engine I'm like 20 thousandths in the hole, and I was thinking like I was using a Wildcat setup where I'm 0 in the hole. That's why I used the 45 thousandths thick gasket, but we got away with the 10 thousandths, so that's what I switched out and went ahead and switched it back out. This bike is crazy better. Like, I mean, you would expect it, but it's actually feeling like a good contender. Oh shoot, I'm eating my belt up. And did I bring another one? Yeah, I got another belt, but my belt's already about ate up. I could feel pieces hitting my leg. I would like to source out better belts. These belts aren't great. Freaking thing's lively, dude. Oh, there goes my belt. It just ripped. Shredded it. That sucks. I hope I just didn't hurt my pulley, because it's stuck in the out position. Yep. That sucks. Real bad. Well, that's crazy. The higher PMs is what's killing that belt. We just shredded a belt in just a few minutes of riding. It's very unfortunate. Now our pulley stuck out, and I'm a little ways from home. But that's what we did not want. Look at that. That is wild. So what I got to do now is cut this belt out of this rear pulley and try to get this reset back in there without having, I have tools, I just don't have what I actually need. I feared this. Well, we was like at freaking 6,000 RPMs when she gave. This is going to be the only downside to a CVT. I don't want to switch to a clutch because then we're not going to get good takeoffs. And I kind of want the best of both. Good night, dude. There we go. And these are the cheapest 3-pack on Amazon. I wish someone would come out with a legit quality belt for these things. Gosh dang. Hope I didn't ruin both my pulleys. I don't think I did. Nah, that's good. So there's our shrapnel. This is our issue. We got to find out how to get that pulley to close without having an impact. You really need an impact to do it. That's why I could feel the belt hitting my leg. All right, so we have a new belt. There we go. Flat side in. There we go. Okay, let's see what happens. All right, let's go easy. How about it? All right, at least we was able to fix it, but now we don't have no belts. All right. So it looks like we may have to start adjusting our CVT to save our belt. I'm gonna go in the emergency just to watch the pulley because I don't want to rev it out like super high up this hill. But I could feel little chunks of rubber smacking me, and it was that belt giving out. So we need to keep 2 spare belts because again, I'm going to do this top speed run. It could eat up the belt again. We may have to start playing with the gearing a little bit, but I feel the higher RPMs is what just killed it. A downside to a 30 series once you get to this power level, and our frame bushings are still stock. Of course, we haven't seen an issue yet because we've not started like rode it off-road hard. That's normally where when you really get the engine in a bind is when you start seeing that fail. So I'm going to save the hard rips for when we get down there, because I definitely want to make it back home. But that's something we're going to have to start doing now, is figuring out, do we need to adjust our CVT? Is our 30 series going to handle higher RPMs? We may have to switch up to a Comet 500 because it's like a baby 780. A Comet 500 is the closest thing. It's a little bit bigger than a 30, but it's 780 size belt and stuff, and it would definitely hold the power. It's just fitting it all on the bike might be the issue. But that's not what we're trying to. We wanted everything to be bolt-on this, and that's what we got to figure out. 2, that's it. Oh boy. It feels so much crazier than when it was stock. Like, it's night and day difference. It's just crazy that the numbers aren't like reflecting that. So what do you guys think of the numbers? Like, of course we're going off this GPS on my phone. I would think it's pretty accurate, not as accurate as a draggy, and that's what I just need to do, is set up the draggy and do some pulls. But yeah, but the belt's okay right now, but I wouldn't trust this belt to go like a lot. Like, you know, I definitely can't be holding it to the freaking wood. I did put a new twist throttle, some new grips, because my grips wasn't matching, so now I don't have so much backlash like you do have this much play in it. But that's it. But like, I wish I would have started with the draggy, but I didn't, so that's where we're at. She does open up like a cylinder gun though. CVT might be our Achilles heel on this bike. I can cruise at 45 easier now, like way easier, because before you couldn't do that. I always take these side roads beside this dollar store because it's a good central location outside of town. I do not want to burn up my last belt though, I can tell you that. I'm going to go home, slap another belt on the back. Or no, I think that's my last one. I got to order some. So the stretched out belt would still work, but what it's going to do is give us more top end, less takeoff. But it would work. I'm watching that belt like a hawk. I do want to build a steel cage for the CVT. Also, I don't know what my gas level's at. I put $5 in this thing, filled it up a couple rides ago. I don't know what kind of mileage this thing gets, and we're doing a lot of higher PM pulls, so I would imagine it could be a little low. Yeah, now I'm scared to like really hoon it because I don't have another belt. Becca's getting the camper ready to go camping, so all right, so let's see if we got some more belts. We can take it out ripping. All right, so we got back home and we didn't have any extra belts, so I ordered 6 of them off of Amazon, and I think what the bike needs now is we need to start playing with some gearing. So I know most people probably noticed the 0 to 30 time hasn't really changed, which blows my mind because the bike pulls so much harder now. Like, it's a completely different bike, of course, than when we started with it. And we're really close to having this 196 maxed out. I talked in other videos about possibly putting a 240 on it and jumping up to a bigger engine, but I don't know if we actually need it because the 240 is going to make a lot more torque, should make a little bit more horsepower, but I'm thinking we keep the 196 as long as possible and keep doing upgrades to it. So we need to swap it over to electric start and put a charging system back on it because I do want that for a street bike. And we're going to do some ratio rockers later and a more aggressive cam. We're going to go with a 308 cam, but the head that I had in stock was only single valve springs, and you have to cut deeper spring pockets. So what I'm going to do is order a CNC ported head from EC Carburetors that already has the dual valve springs in it, so we can use this head for a different project and put a 308 cam. We'll try that out, and we'll probably go with a larger valve head, and then we'll put some 1.3 ratio rockers in it, and then this engine will be almost maxed out. We can get a flat top piston for it and do some other little things like that, but for the most part it'll be done. And we can also get the rotating assembly balance. We'll do that in an upcoming video. So I think the next video, I've got belts on order. It's raining like crazy for the next few days, so I can't actually do any more testing right now. It's literally pouring rain for the last like 10 hours. So what we're going to do is I've ordered a 40. So the bike has a 48 tooth rear sprocket. I've ordered a 40 and I've ordered a 60. So what we're going to do is, next episode, we're going to take it out. We're going to do the top speed runs again with fresh belts and really hoon on it. Then we'll swap over to a 40 sprocket on the rear and see what that does, and then we'll swap over to a 60. Now, I know a 60 will give us lower gearing ratio, but we found it actually works kind of the opposite that you would think it would. It gives you a lot of takeoff, but our bikes will hit 65 pretty effortlessly, our trail bikes, with a 60 tooth on the rear. So I just want to do an experiment with that. And then the next video after that, we can put a clutch on it. That would not make it a street and trail bike in my opinion, but we may be better off with a clutch, because what I think is happening is we're maxing out this CVT. We can't rev the engine any higher, and it wants to rev a little higher than the CVT will allow it. So maybe gearing will help that. And if not, we'll switch over to a clutch. And maybe we hate the clutch, but we'll test the clutch with the 40, 48, and the 60 sprocket as well to see what we can get out of it. So I hope you guys are interested in that, because I've been wanting to test sprockets and clutch versus CVT for a long time, and a street bike I think is the perfect way to go. So we've got everything ordered and most of it here already to make that video next week. So stay tuned to that. We also got this bike back. This is our big block Coleman B200R that has a swing arm kit on it, and this bike was meaner than crap, and I don't know why I never did really care about it, and I ended up selling it, and then we traded the Ultimate CT200U build back for it. So now we're about to perfect this thing, stiffen up the front forks because they're extremely weak, and we're going to make street bike version 2 with a big block and see what kind of power we can get with a big block, because that thing is crazy mean, and I think that's going to be the way to go. So then we'll have a small block and a big block, a street bike to do videos with, and I think that'll be pretty sweet. So stay tuned. We got a lot of stuff. I know there wasn't a lot of riding in this one because we had to order belts and I didn't want to get stranded, and I want to rip on this thing because it's making some good power. So everything's ordered. So stay tuned to the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to check out rbgcarts.com and all the links for all the parts we use on this bike. They help out a ton and we appreciate it. We love you guys, and God bless.